Advent, the 2nd of December. Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. Today, we will reflect on another passage often read at carol services, the promise made to Abraham. This is the story of the first steps to restoration of the broken relationship between God and humanity, when God intervenes and offers an old man who must have imagined his story was drawing to a close more than he could ever have dreamt possible. Childless, in a culture where this was seen as a curse from God, Abraham and his wife Sarah had long given up hope of having a child. They were settled where they lived, imagining they would live out their final years surrounded by friends and relatives. Travelling and dreams were for young men, and Abraham's time had seemingly come and gone. But God has very different ideas. 75 when he eventually obeys the call to go, Abraham leaves everything he has ever known, travelling for hundreds of miles clinging to a promise. He was not told where his final destination would be, only that he would be shown where to go. He was also promised that through him would come the seed of a great nation, something that seemed laughable in Abraham's old age, when he had no children of his own. Regardless, in the face of apparent reckless folly and questioning from those closest to him, he leaves familiarity and strikes out, trusting the promise giver who offered the seemingly impossible. With these words, God painted a remarkable picture to an old man who must have once thought the best was behind him, and that it was too late for his hopes and dreams to become reality.
The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the peoples on earth will be blessed through you." Genesis 12, 1-3.
Abraham trusted and believed God, and stepped out in faith, trusting the promise giver. Even with this faith, his road ahead was difficult. Living as a wandering nomad with no permanent home, with family members walking away and rejecting his dream, and a long path of decades until this promise was answered. In the waiting and apparent silence from heaven, Abraham and Sarah even began to doubt God's timing and even attempted to take things into their own hands, leading to great family strife. But God's timing was not Abraham's timing. And even in all the waiting, Abraham trusted the one who had given him renewed hope. Finally, 25 long years after that promise that his descendants would one day outnumber the stars he could see painted across the canvas of the sky, Abraham lovingly cradled Isaac in his arms. His longed-for son had finally arrived. God had been faithful to his promises. On this day in Advent, let us remember that God always calls the unlikely and those who the world counts as nothing or finished, and trust him with our lives. On this day in Advent, let us remember that our timing is not his timing, and the need for us to daily trust as a child does a loving parent to know what is best for them. On this day in Advent, let us reflect where and how we are to step out in faith into the hands of grace, following a God who can do more than we can possibly ask or imagine. The key connection to Advent is the final part of the promise made to the old man Abraham, that one day all families on the earth will be blessed by his obedience and faith through his family line. This passage promises more than just the birth of one nation. From Abraham's faith comes the miracle of Isaac, and eventually the Israelite nation. And through all their painful rebellions and miraculous restorations recorded in the scriptures, God preserves his people, often in the face of overwhelming odds. until thousands of years after a seemingly impossible promise is made to an old man in the desert, a baby is born to a young woman in a stable in Bethlehem, ripping history in two and changing the world forever. All the peoples on earth were blessed because of obedience to a promise.